guys, and welcome to my channel.
To start off with our samp, I'm going to take some kidney beans, and for my kidney beans I'm actually just going to use a cup of kidney beans. Now remember the trick that your grandmother taught you, right? Yes, we still do it, where you take your beans, you put them on a plate or a tray or something. Yes, we're going old school like that. You scatter them around and you look for, what you're actually supposed to be looking for is you look for rocks or any ones that are just, funny. You see this one, so you try and remove all those ones that kind of look a bit weird. And my beans are fine. Then I'm just going to take my beans and I'm going to transfer them to my pot. And then I am using a big pot just so to allow for space, because samp is like rice. As it cooks, it expands. So what you start with and what you end up with are two different things, right? So then the ratio to beans and samp, half beans to a cup of samp. So since I put 1 cup of beans, I am going to put 2 cups of samp, right? And samp basically is not problematic. What needs to happen is that you really need to go and wash your samp, because it's very starchy. Look at that. Look at my hands. Like, it is very, very starchy. So you need to make sure that this is thoroughly washed. So now basically you just need to wash your samp and preferably run warm water, right? Can you see all that starch that's basically coming out? So what I'm doing is that, so what I'm basically doing is I'm just, doing that movement, trying to wash out all the starch. And then you see, and all the impurities of the samp are going to flow out with the water. You're going to have to repeat this process probably 3 to 4 times until the water is crystal clear. Then you know that you've removed all the starch from your water, from your samp. I have washed my samp, and as you can see, the water is crystal clear now. I know you can see some bubbling action in the middle. That's because I have my samp now already on my stove, and it's now starting to bubble, hence the little bubbles you see there. And then the amount of water that you're supposed to put in, you need to put in 5 times more water than you do to samp. So I put in 2 cups of samp. So 5 times more, the 2 cups is 10 cups of water. 5 times 2, 10. Yes, so I put 10 cups of water right into this samp and beans. And the reason why you put so much water is to allow your samp to fully cook without the water running out. Because samp takes a lot of liquid. As I told you in the beginning, it expands as it cooks, and it soaks up all that water. So you need to make sure there's enough water for the samp to soak up and to fully cook, right? I'm going to let it to boil. I have put it over high heat, and I'm just putting it over high heat for now until it starts boiling. And as soon as it comes to somewhat of not a hectic boil, just a little, just over a simmer, but not a full boil, right? Then I'm going to lower my heat, and then the samp is going to cook for the next hour on low heat, right? Medium low. You like to cook it on stove level number 2, just so you allow it to fully cook. Because if you rush the process of cooking samp, you're going to have your samp either burn, right, or it's going to cook on the outside and not on the inside. And you know what they say about samp and beans, which is not fully cooked? You will have a runny tummy, and no one wants a runny tummy. So please take your time. Don't rush this dish. Just put it on the stove and then go do whatever else you need to go and do while this continues to cook, right? Now you can see that my beans and samp is boiling, right? Then now you will lower your stove to low heat, either level 2 or 3 on your stove, depending on how hot it is. Remember, we are cooking it low and slow. It's been going now for the past hour. And as you can see, the samp has risen. You know, and remember why I told you that you must make sure there's enough water, right? So the samp has risen, but you can still feel it by stirring it that it's still really hard, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use beef stocks or beef cubes, whatever you have. I'm just going to play around with the beef one and the garlic and herb one. So I'm going to put in 2 beef cubes. I'm going to put in the beef, 2 beef, and I'm going to then put in 1 garlic and herb one, right? And basically the reason why I'm putting it now is so that as it continues to the samp to cook, so that it thingy, now the water is flavored. Yeah, it's going to, you know, create that depth of flavor. And then I'm just going to put 1 garlic and herbs beef stock. So you can use whatever stock you personally prefer. So I'm just playing around with these 2 flavors for myself, right? And then you're just going to stir that, and this is going to continue to cook. So now we're going to work on flavoring our samp beans, right? Just to take that flavor, you know, give it even more depth, as opposed to just the norox that we put in, or stock. What you're going to do is you're going to take half a quarter cup, which is 1/8 of a cup, ne? 1/8 of a cup of oil, right? So any oil of your choosing, and you're going to put that into a hot pot, pan or whatever, right? And what we're then going to do is we're going to saute. That is hot, right? And then now we are going to saute some onion, right? Some onion. And then this is optional. I've got some green chilies. I just like my food a little bit on the spicy side of life. You want to do this until your onions are translucent, and don't be afraid of the oil that you actually see here. I would actually just add just a little bit more, because this oil, right, just that much more, right, is actually going to form the flavor profile of your samp, right? So you're going to have that nice, it's not going to be oily, trust me, it is not going to be oily, but you're going to taste the onion, right? And then, like, there's not a lot of oil, as you can see, there really isn't a lot of oil, but you just need all of this to mix with the samp. So you don't want your onions to be like stiff, you know, you need them to be nicely translucent and everything, right? So my onions are sauteed, right? And they're also a bit charred, but it's okay, right? They're not burnt, they are charred. English taught me that word, char, right? So honestly, they are really not burnt, they're just a bit on the charred side of life. And then to this, we are now going to add 2 tablespoons of Raja curry powder. Basically, I'm using Raja mild and spicy, right? So 2 tablespoons of that, and then just mix, right? And then just allow the curry powder to cook off. Remember, with curry powder, you must always let your curry powder not burn, but for it to cook so it releases its aromatics, right? Yeah. And then it just looks a little bit on the stiff side for me. I'm just going to add just a little bit of oil, right? Just to get it a bit looser, right? Remember, I told you it mustn't be stiff. Then allow that to cook. So my samp has been cooking now for the past 3 hours. And as you can see, it is fully cooked. Right, the water is finished, right, and it's now ready to eat. So a lot of people usually leave it at this point, right? However, I like to spice it up even more, and hence this is when we come in with our onion mixture. And you're just going to plonk that in there. It's just going to add a depth of flavor right into our samp. And then you're going to mix. Right, and you can also see the color is also changing. And this is just going to add that depth of flavor. You see, it's not oily at all, as I had previously mentioned, that it's not going to be oily. So do not be alarmed by the amount of oil initially used. So you're just going to mix that together, make sure everything is nicely combined. And this is your samp, right? Look at how lovely. World class, I tell you.